Oh, we're entering 1743. What's happened so far? Well, after the Prussian initial invasion, because the French didn't support them, because red text on those cards is difficult for me to ascertain, a lot of issues are coming up because of components. That's along with rolls and whatnot. The Austrians have been kind of bullying the Prussians around. The English are... Everybody's in the war now except for Russia, I think. So the Anglo-Dutch have an army in Hanover trying to protect that. Belle-Île was removed, and Maillebois is trying to move up on Hanover, while Broglie was down here trying to push things for the Bavarians. Feels like we're in kind of a stalemate. Honestly, I think the game probably favors that. It's at such a large scale, and the battles tend to be kind of inconclusive. They feel almost like the battles from Victory Games American Civil War, you know. Two forces clash, they each take a couple of hits, and somebody's demoralized and falls back, and the other person might be able to take advantage of that if it's their activation. If the phasing player gets to keep going, they might be able to press further, but it's really, really hard to get a good grasp on the enemy, it feels like. And that's fine. Again, the scale is, so large that I don't know. I'm not so sure about the battles. They're feeling a little too inconclusive, and I feel like some of that may be the combat chart. But in terms of a lot being able to happen, that would be difficult. And I actually feel like you're able to make some pretty decent movements, just not huge changes, because when you come up and face an enemy unit, well, you're kind of stuck and not really able to win a decisive victory in the field, which means you can't do much. You can maybe do some sieges, but then the enemy comes up and does some sieges behind you and takes everything you got. So here we're in the new year. Advance the turn marker. We did that already. Well, we advanced the year marker, which is the turn, I guess. Remove the fog of war chits. Okay. And we will do some kind of shuffling with them for when they get... Place reinforcement leaders. Demote Conti in 46. Deploy fleet sections. Oh, man. All right, so the fleet sections that I bought that came in over here, they shouldn't have been placed immediately. It doesn't matter. I placed them here in the saved resources recruiting, and they weren't used during the season. But I got to remember that the fleet sections actually go into the year box or something. But I got to get me some new leaders. Now this can be kind of tricky. So who do we got? We got Ligonier, who is weird. He has like a replacement upgrade. And we have Charles VII of Naples, who I do not know if he is the same Charles VII who becomes the emperor. Maybe I should go look that up. Oh, I don't know where Ligonier goes. I'll put him here. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to get a chance to move people around. Well, it does actually matter because there's a late winter. So place reinforcement leaders. Where do they go? Same power-controlled fortresses. Okay, so he actually can't go in London, and in fact, if we weren't in the game, he couldn't go anywhere. He has to go down in Hanover. Because there's no fortresses in England, of course. The other one, the Spanish, same powered control fortress. Ooh, Yeah, he's not allowed to go anywhere. I don't know where he goes. I guess he drowns at sea or something. Not him. He's fine. Charles the Seventh. He's got nowhere he's allowed to go. There's no fortresses. Cool, eh? I love it when the rules don't work. Yeah, well, that's pretty common here. All right, I'm going to go look up Charles the Seventh because I've been questioning this in my head. I don't know if the King of Naples is the guy who is becoming the Holy Roman Emperor. Pretty sure that Charles of Lorraine, who's Maria's husband, I think, will become emperor. But I have to look this up now. I'm just really confused. Too many Charleses. And then, you know, we get to the Napoleonic era and there's the Archduke Charles. But that's not the Charles that's here, who is way, way less potent. So, a little looking up, it is the same person, and he's also the King of Spain. Why he's listed as King of Naples, I don't know. And again, so he'll be in command if Neapolitan troops are there, but he has no command over Spanish troops, which makes things kind of funky again. So he's Charles III of Spain and Charles VII of Germany. I don't think he's Charles VII of Naples. Wait, that's not possible. They're saying he's also the Elector of Bavaria. Wait a minute. I gotta go look. This doesn't seem right. I'm pretty sure that the Wittelsbachs did not rule Spain. We're talking about a Bourbon. Okay, so whatever I just got is absolutely wrong. Let me go look again. But one thing that I was wrong about is Maria Theresa's husband was not a Charles, he was a Francis. So he'll be Emperor Francis I. And that's how that name ends up in the Habsburg lineup. Because obviously Francis was sort of like, you know, it would be like being called Germanicus in charge of Germany. So let's start over. Charles VII is Charles VII of Naples and Charles III of Spain. Again, the same problem happens that I had, where he's not associated with the Spanish troops. I feel a little funky about that. I kind of wish he were both. You know, just like, I don't know. But if there's a majority of Neapolitan troops present, you have to choose one of the Neapolitan leaders. So Charles would be an acceptable leader for that. But he would trust, I guess, all his Spanish generals ahead of him. And in fact, any Spaniard would do better than him as leader of the forces. Because he does, it would be as if George here were counted as Hanover only, and were written as Hanover, which he's not. But that's okay, because British and British minor allies are all considered the same, so no issue there. But there's no such similar disambiguation, or yeah, whatever. There's no similar statement about the Spaniards. The Emperor Charles VII is the Elector of Bavaria. I read a snippet that was created in Google out of the Wikipedia, and it just seemed to say bullshit. When I click on the Wikipedia thing, it gets me to a disambiguation page, which works a lot better. Because yeah, the Elector of Bavaria is a Wittelsbach, and the Spanish king is going to be a Bourbon at this point. And there's no way the Wittelsbachs had you know, were Habsburgs or Bourbons. All right, so what am I doing? I put the 2 counters down. Yeah, this is another reason why my videos take so long. I deployed the fleet sections, which means we're going into player order here, which means I have to worry about supplies. I think we're all good. Otherwise, we would have been in trouble. And I go player by player. Well, Prussia has no cards, so I kind of don't have to do anything for them. But Austria has a card that they want to play at this point. Briefly think about things. I did an admin movement to get the Saxons over here, but they don't have a mixed force marker like these guys do, because there's this card that got played, which is written down over there, but there's no information, no counter, no way, you know, over here on the checklist, whatever, everywhere in the game, there's nothing that tells me that information except that particular card, which could be unavailable for viewing at any particular time, which, you know, whatever. But there's no mixed force marker because the Augustus Overawed was played as an event. I know that it's played as an event. I wrote it down here. If I have that card either in my hand as the Prussians, I can say, I can see what it does. If I have it in the discard pile, I can see what it does. Otherwise, I got to just remember because there's no other element. So now the Austrians want to play for CPs in this segment. And this is a late winter campaign. There's no other events of any kind. There's no free minor admin. So I have 4 CPs that I can play. That can allow me to do things with a couple of forces, actually. So I've got Charles, I've got Brown. Brown's not big enough to deal with this. But he could charge up and take some Prussian territory. So that might be of interest. So let's move Charles first for 3 of those 4 APs, because I might be able to pin Freddie down or knock him around a little bit, which would allow Brown to maybe advance here more easily. So I made a move up to Breslau. Frederick's going to try to intercept him there, but that draws him off. Even if I lose the battle, it draws him off and allows me to use Brown elsewhere. So that's kind of cool. We'll conduct the battle. Nobody's got any cards or anything that they can play. Austria's got 1, but it's not a battle card. So there we go. Let's fight. This time, the Prussians are at +1, as they were last time, because I force Charles to attack, even though we got another of the same kind of card, add a subordinate into the battle. These battles are not big battles. I don't know how you get an army that big. We'll see. But the addition of the Saxon cav meant the Austrians don't have their advantage. And I managed to roll 15% to 10%. I don't know if that's going to bonus the like, obviously it's better for the Prussians. I don't know if it's going to mean the Prussians do more damage than the Austrians did. I am using this, so that was at 7 to begin with, 1 to move in, 1 to fight the battle. So yeah, the Austrians lost 4 to the Prussian 3, and again, an indecisive little battle. Yeah, sure, I lost, I'm forced back, okay. Now I spend 3 more of these, I recover with no problem. Does anybody, let me check the warn. If the winning force suffered any SP, put a warn marker on it. Okay. So the Prussians are warned, which means they have a -1. The Austrians are fine, which means I can go back for another battle. So even though I lost the battle, Prussia is unable to take any advantage of me. I had plenty of points. I can go back and smack him again. And that actually costs me 2. I don't know if the Prussians want to fight this battle. I think I want to try to withdraw. And I should have a +2 because I have a 2 defensive rating. And I might be able to withdraw and get in Brown's way. Yeah. Okay. So we run away. There's a siege 0 marker here. So what has happened? Well, somehow everything pretty much stayed the same. There was some fighting, and the siege of Breslau has been restored somehow. Oh, oopsie. I forgot about that extra strength point there. No biggie. It wasn't going to make a difference. It was like 27. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't gonna move the value up, and that used up all my points. I have one more point on here, which I can use for Brownie, and we might as well abandon because we know Prussia has no cards, so we can come this way. One, we want to avoid the danger of Freddy. We want to avoid that. Well, the French have a card. You know, I think we want to leave a strength point behind if that's the case. Just to make sure Prague doesn't fall easily. 1, 2. I can supply this way. So 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I can siege. And I'll come back with whatever I take. I don't know how big a deal it is if I take lots of Saxon territory. It doesn't seem very important. So, I succeeded in sieging both Dresden and Leipzig. They're not worth anything. Maybe there's some card Saxony surrenders if you hold a whole bunch of it or something. I don't know. But it seems like I want to do this. Put a pressure on here. If I could take Berlin, which I can. I've got 1 point left. I can move into Berlin and I drop off something here. I'm in supply. I've just taken Berlin. That's got to be good. Now there's points for Berlin that are both brown. Don't know what's up with that. Luckily there's a rule thing for that. 20.22. That is not. This is the first time an enemy force enters an enemy capital. The victory points are awarded. So Austria has just entered, and I have no way to remember that this is the only time they've done, the first time they've done so. There's no marker for that or anything, but I do gain a victory point from the event victory points, and that gives me a total. This doesn't take anything away. Now, this is marked with 2 numbers. Here under variable power, 2 spaces have dual VP values coded by their value. I'm guessing that this 1 here is the special one time only because Vienna has the same kind of thing in it. I think it's only awarded. Here's what's weird. The first time only that a friendly force enters an enemy capital, the following additional VPs are awarded to that power. So Austria has gotten the points for taking Berlin. I think that means England cannot get those points. And yeah, and whatever else. There are other effects, I think. Conquered capital. If a hostile force enters or occupies one of these capitals, at the end of a scenario, it's worth the points printed, which means Austria also gets 2 points to their total, and I think Prussia loses 2. It doesn't say that, but that's how victory points work everywhere else. And so I just guess that. Is there any other effect? Like is Monarch will affected or anything? Not that I know of. Because I think this occupation VP is the same as capturing enemy and neutral victory point spaces. I certainly think Prussia should be in some way penalized for losing Berlin. We shall see. Monarch will. Do we have anything there? Nope. Yeah, and capturing fortresses doesn't matter, and losing battles doesn't matter, as long as they're not major, as long as there's not 5 or more strength points being lost. There's no big deal. And we haven't seen any battles that big. And it's each round of battle, as far as I can tell. Like, each round of battle counts as its own battle. So, yeah, you need really big forces to generate really big losses. And when you go above 30, you decrease the amount of damage you do. So you need even big forces, is all that that's saying. All right, so what did we do? We did supply segment. We did this because we don't know what that is. We get to rally. Well, we have no rallies because we chose to rally before. And that'll be the end of the Austrian turn. I don't think the French have a card they can play. I don't think the Brits have a card they can play. But I'll just check before I go on to the next thing, which will be... See, the Prussians might have been evicted, but they're not. We got some Saxons in Magdeburg now. Yay. Yeah, we removed the depots. See, we removed the depots. France doesn't have Charles VII because I haven't taken Hanover yet. And then we move the season marker, remove all CHs not stacked. Yeah. So not a lot's going to happen here. I'll come back if anything does. So you have enough depots to last you a couple of years, apparently. But now we're kind of running low, and I got to start buying them. I don't know how much sense that makes or not. I did notice something where I screwed up. These Spanish troops here in Barcelona, I'm assuming Barcelona's not part of Italy. Doesn't say Italy. Looks like it's part of what should be Spain. And I have 7 strength points there, which actually means that they should have started deteriorating. I don't know when those forces... So that was a supply source, but it wasn't able to make it to winter quarters. Was it? They could only go 2 AP, otherwise they went to winter quarters and are transferred to the nearest space. So actually, they would go to winter quarters and I guess make it to Toulon, but they're going to take attrition first. Winter attrition... Well, we didn't do winter attrition. When were we supposed to do winter attrition? Probably in the winter quarters phase. And I absolutely forgot to do this. Well, here it says if a major force suffers winter attrition. I think I may have fucked that up last time because I think like here it says if they suffer winter attrition, they take this. I thought they said somewhere they take that percentage in addition to the winter attrition. Here it seems the same too. I think I fucked up. I'm not going to worry about it. But these were not in winter quarters. So they would take 10%. So I lose 1 Spaniard there. They're in supply because they have a port. And let's see. This is what you gotta do when you're doing force pool. Oh, no. Don't have any more 5s left. You gotta exchange all kind of pieces all over the place and do stuff. All right. So I took some losses that I shouldn't have in at least one year, maybe two. I think we skipped winter attrition on the first year, but I think I did it on that second year, and it shouldn't have happened. Because I remember moving through all the pieces and taking the 10% from everyone. Is there anyone who would have suffered? I don't think so. I think everybody was in winter quarters, which is fine, right? Like, as long as you can make it to winter quarters, you're okay. It says, if a major force suffers winter attrition. And here, it's if they cannot reach, they suffer winter attrition, and then they're transferred. Exception, no, that's fine. Yeah, I think I just charged everybody the 10 or 20% losses, which was incorrect. And I had gripes about that because it was really painful to do. And apparently I just didn't read the rules, which is not shocking given that this is me. We removed all the depots, which means, players, their capability to project is diminishing each year. So in the first 2 years, really, because they don't get removed after 1740, but 1740 is barely a turn. The first 2 years, you don't lose your depots, but I lost them here and had to regenerate. Didn't put anywhere near as many out because, I only needed to do what I need to support. There were a ton of them on the board earlier. But this is somewhat problematic. This needs a depot on it, unless I want to lose forces each turn. That's fine. I don't care. They're just Spaniards. Actually, the Spanish are really good troops. No HRE, advance the season, remove all CH, not stopped. Okay, so we are up to the spring administrative segment, and I am absolutely fatigued again by doing anything in this game. Why did I... there was some place where I got it where, just a major force takes these losses. Okay, so doing a winter campaign doesn't cost you anything, but a force intercepting suffers 10% winter attrition. I forgot about that. Okay, the Prussians intercepted, so they lose a pile of troops. In addition, I don't know. I'll just do that. I don't know what the hell. I don't really care. If I'm fucking up and should be taking 2 Prussians, I don't think there's proportional losses, but I think you have to take the majority of losses somewhere. I don't really give a shit. I really don't. I'm tired of looking shit up in here. And then when I do look it up, getting it wrong and not reading correctly, I'm getting so flustered by how bad the rules are that I could use that as an excuse, but the truth of the matter is I'm just bad at reading too. Right, so I worked my way through first the reinforcements, getting the additional few that I had, putting them in play. Redeployment. Let me try to explain what I've done, more or less. Let's see. Prussians didn't have much. All their reinforcements, etc., flooded into Frederick's army. I don't know if that got rid of the Warren. It doesn't really matter, does it? Oh, yeah, it does. Trying to think how many points I had. I don't think it was enough to get rid of the Warren problem. Maybe if I had added the Saxons in at the same time, but that's not what happened. Could have actually shifted another Saxon down there too. Why did I do that? Just to make things a little bit stronger. I think still not enough to have converted things over, and nothing too exciting with leadership there. For the Spaniards, shipped troops into Naples, and then admin marched them up. Changed my leadership, so Gages is in charge here, and all these leaders are there as well. And this is over, I guess, in a different theater, the French-German theater or whatever, with Montemar there. I have to put a starred commander there, in one in each location. Either way, I end up with better command than I had. Austria. Austria heavily redeployed. They got a lot of troops because not only did they get this, they had a pile of subsidy from a British card. And I can't do anything with Charles because he's in a force with enemy SP in it, sieging it. But, and I guess I could have redeployed up there, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I could have. Got to think about the strength points because I could move some of these points up there. I've got a big force showing up here in Vienna to counteract this. My main force is still over here, but it's not under Charles anymore. It's under Traun because I put Charles in charge up in Flanders, leaving my best commanders elsewhere. He's not that terrible, but I really want Traun in charge of the biggest force facing Freddy. He's actually better than Frederick. Not better than late Frederick. Frederick gets better. And yeah, I've got, forces all over the fucking place with the Austrians, basically. Built up a little bit here because the French put, although this didn't, so it's kind of weird. The commanders get, the reinforcements get placed before the commanders do, and the French put a hell of a lot of troops in Lille because they don't have many places they can put their troops, and then they can admin march like 5 of them, so I could have put some in here and moved up here, but I left the Sax in charge here, or moved to Sax in charge there. I've got Malbois over here facing the Austrians. Over here I've got Noailles, and Broglie is hiding under Noailles. He doesn't have, it's not like EU where you have to assign like the best commanders each to their own commands. But you do have to put a starred commander in charge of the biggest force in a particular theater. Now these guys are probably going to march into Austria, or at least that's what I was planning on, so I need to give them their own star commander. And the star commander here is, I think, an even larger force because I got the big treasure fleet and whatnot. I really bought some cav too. Didn't really talk much about the Austrians. I'm having a hard time doing so because they're just scattered all over the fucking place. Didn't get to do anything with Piedmont. They didn't get any reinforcements or anything because they don't have this British subsidy, I guess, because there's the Bavarian subsidy, and that's based on a card and a counter, and I think the Piedmont one has a counter as well. Huh. French can't enter into Amsterdam. Maybe I don't want that big force there. Fuck. Oh well, maybe I'll be able to. I don't know. But I probably don't want them right there. I probably want to shift the Flanders army down to Metz instead. That gives me more flexibility. I was looking at it and saying, oh, I really want to be able to attack to try to get Antwerp, but I can't do that. But I could take something like Luxembourg and put more pressure here if need be. Anyhow, I have to build the forces in France. I could attack Italy, but I'm not focusing there. The Brits built their forces in London and then shipped what they could. They have an administrative move for, I guess, 5 units. But much more importantly, I put Cumberland in charge here with Ligonier. And then over in England, I've got Stair and George, and that's fine. Um, so that's what I got there. The next thing I'm doing is the draw segment. And here I ran into a problem. So remember how I said the French deck had some cards that were out of order? Well, I discovered that the Austrian and English deck did as well. There's some early cards. Now, they were much better organized in general, to the extent that I thought it went early, wide, or late, because it looked like that. But there are a couple of earlies in both of these. Regaining the Crowns, there were a couple of them in here. I don't know. It would have meant that I saw the cards in a slightly different order than I'm going to see them. Fuck it, I'm just going to do it this way. These are going to get shuffled in. And then in like the case of France and Austria, who have like a spare card, that's get shuffled into this deck. And we'll just live with whatever the fuck, comes out of this. The randomness is going to be different than what was expected. I could look over and see what the early cards are that we didn't get. I think the French, I noticed the problem with the deck, that it wasn't, sorted. Here, let's take a look at what some of the earlies are. We got a couple of Regaining the Crowns, which, I mean, it would have meant cards that I could discard for other things. And I'm just looking at the earlies to see. Yeah, that's all that was early in the Austrian deck that didn't get played, or that should have been available. Those would have watered down my capabilities somewhat. And here for the English, I remember seeing at least one E in here. Atlantic Fleet Reinforcement. Yeah, that would have been nice. And that's it. So I don't think it had much effect. I don't think there were any Prussian. There's like no Prussian late war cards. So there's that. And we'll shuffle. Remember, these are the armored cards, so they'll hurt my hands to do so. And then I draw new hands of cards and discard. And then I have the Fortunes of War, which just get randomized and placed in the 3 spaces. And then after I do my discards down to 12 card hands, which, is different, like the French got to get an extra card in 41 or whatever, because we didn't go through all of this. And they started with 13. But then I also have to do additionally, which is discarding cards for the Army and Fleet Sustain, which will be 2 for Austria and France and 1 for everyone else. And then we go on for the actual meat of the spring phase, which is really just a single event card, and then the Fog of War, or Fortune of War. Funny, because Austria held the one Regaining the Crown, because that's all I thought I had in my deck. Actually, there were 3 of them. Well, I probably would have used that for reinforcements or something, but I got plenty of troops on the board. Not enough to get me to big battles or anything, but, I got a lot of commitments all over the board. I can't build a big army. Big armies aren't that efficient as far as I see it. So, I don't know, little battles work fine. And the Prussians aren't able to build a big army, so whatever. The French can. Definite cost to holding and reserving cards and stuff like that. So like France, they have to discard a card no matter what from their, like, they draw 13. They've got to get rid of 1. I held a couple of cards. Those 2 more cards are going to have to be discarded for having held those. Austria, the extra card they held, they're going to have to discard that or something else instead of it. The Brits, I think, had a hold card or whatever. Anything that you hold is going to cost against you. Prussia's the one exception, because they're allowed to hold a 12-card hand, but they only draw 10. But France is the worst, because, I mean, you can look at it as good or bad, right? Like, they get a bigger draw pile, so they get to get rid of some garbage, no matter what, out of their draws. But any cards you hold are going to cost against you. But they may be more valuable cards, ones that you don't want to, that you want to play, and you figure, well, I'll get some garbage instead. Anyway, that's just the thinking there. I have to figure out the discards. That's going to take me some effort. Ease, although I guess maybe you get to know what people discard. I'm not sure. It's not clear. Um, I did the Fortunes of Wars and placed those. I'm going to do all my discards at once. Just this is a matter of me playing, solo rather than an opposed situation. I think it makes most sense. So yeah, the Prussians, it doesn't really matter. I could have held off, but when I get to the Austrians, they've got 13 cards. They're going to have to discard one and then two. I might as well make all that hard decision making at once instead of trying to figure out the card I most want to get rid of, and then I get here and I'm like, well, I got to discard two more. Great. Uh, Fantastic. Thanks for splitting those up. I can't see a reason why they're split up. This doesn't even do anything at all. And unless your discards are apparent to your opponents, it would make a lot more sense to just shift this outside of these two, make this one segment. Through the Prussian cards to decide what to discard. I have a lot of great choices, a lot of shitty 1-point cards in this wider war that aren't playable until later, like this one, summer of 1745 or later, if Saxony was or is allied to Austria. I don't know if they ever were. I don't think so. Um, this sounds so crappy, and it's only 1 point, and it's going away. But I have others here, like this Chasten and Weiser. Play in spring event phase 1744 or later, or after Frederick loses his second battle. I think I've lost 2 battles with Frederick. I'm not positive. But that's going to, I believe, create the better Frederick counter. So anyway, I did the Prussian one. Guess I'll do the Austrians, left this in the same place. They've got to discard 3 cards. We have an interesting card. I think, so it says here, if played as an event, remove. And then lower down it says play 1743 or later for the second event. I think the if played as an event only applies if I play that particular event, although this one's a lot more impressive, which is 10 Austrian strength points and 4 Austrian cav in the next reinforcement box. Just get a huge force together. This one's a 7 CP of bonus activations. Yeah, that's a lot. And with Austria spread out all over the place, maybe being able to do a lot of activations would be incredibly powerful. But it's pretty hard to convince myself not to play for the reinforcements. I'm just looking, as I'm looking through my hands, I'm trying to come up with things. Right now, I found a couple of cards I'm not really impressed with in terms of being able to be used anytime. They can't be used this year. And yes, I have a fair amount of cards there, so I may not be able to get them on my next year, but maybe I will. Now, remember, France had 2 extra cards and a 13 card hand draw, so that's a 3rd card that I have to throw away. And then 2 more there, so I've got to get rid of 5 of these. It's going to be hard. The Austrians, I got rid of the 2 that I wanted in a Regaining the Crown, sort of the cheapest of them, because there's no guarantee that Charles VII is going to be crowned. Things look kind of rough for the Bourbons right now. This is kind of interesting. George shall command. It's an interrupt, whatever. George II must be placed on the largest British force on the map in Germany and remain for at least 2 seasons. Great. If played as an interrupt, the British force always uses its original commander's initiative rating, but any APs already expended are subtracted from George II's AP rating to determine how many more it can expend. Okay. So If I were to activate this guy, I would pay 2, but George II's command rating would, action points would be used. But this is what's really weird. So if George his command loses a battle, -1 British victory point. This is interesting. George's counter does not have any stars. He is, by the rules, not allowed to command anything, basically. And I've been treating him as nothing special. This doesn't say anything like he's now elevated to command. Now it implies it, but here's what I don't know. If the king is there, is he in command? Even if this card hasn't been played, whatever. Same thing probably with Louis and some others. You know, I've got Charles VII here of Naples. Does he just take command? You know, is he the highest ranking Neapolitan leader? It's not at all clear, and it's very, very disturbing. Again, stuff that's just left out of the game, where you're left with, like with the yellow seals on these French cards, uh, you know, in my case, I very much wanted these to mean I got to use those for Spaniards. Well, that's not the case. I can, but I can also use the blue ones for Spaniards. Yeah, it's just like there's so much that's sort of missing in terms of not just nailing things down, which sometimes I feel games go too far in, but like I got no idea which way it's supposed to go. You know? And with this, I have no idea. Is George always outranking all English forces, but doesn't have to be placed in command, and that's why he's not a star? It's not explained in the rules that way. My assumption is the way the rules are, is he's just a zero rank leader. Now, from this, obviously, while this is in effect, remain at least 2 seasons. I don't know how I track that. Is there a George shall command counter? Is there a marker for that? Okay, it's not even on here, um, which it wouldn't be if it's not a go away thing. But this would make sense of something that would go on the event track or something. Instead, I'm going to have to like use a sticky note or something like that to try to track, um, when George can stop being in command again and returns to just being a dipshit who you can pull along with your armies for no reason. I don't know. Now, there was something fucking weird here. I'm looking at this. The one-time event. France officially declares war on Piedmont. +1 Spanish victory point allows play of Prince of Conte event. Flip no French in Italy marker to French in Italy Prince of Conte side. There was something that prevents them from going in there. So, like, there's a card that may prevent them. There's a rule that appears to prevent them from going in there, period. The setup doesn't say that that gets set up there, whereas these do get set up. I'm just at such a loss at trying to decipher, what all the events are going to mean. I'll just play it by ear, and I think this marker's not there unless the Allies play whatever card it is that prevents them. I think it's a British card. I don't fucking know. But I'm just at such a fucking loss trying to figure this shit out. Now, here it says allows play of Prince of Conte. Flip no French in Italy to the French in Italy Prince of Conte side. All right, let's find the no French in Italy. Is that over here? Oh, French Fleet's Voyage. I wonder what this is. No Voyage Rex. I got no idea what that is. Here it is. No French in Italy. The other side says Prince of Conte, French in Italy. We go over to the Prince of Conte card, and it says put all this stuff in Antibes, which is here. Sounds like something in the Caribbean to me. French forces may now enter Italian theater. Well, what? Did this card allow me in, or does this card allow me in? I fucking, it's just such a fucking mess. Busily trying to find, like, I've got three cards I'm kind of willing to get rid of. I don't know how much I am, you know, like this Bourbon Cooperation sounds really good, but it's a shitty card on its own. And it's 6 points of activations of French, Spanish Bourbon forces in the Italian theater only. And unless I can get the French in there, I'm not going to have that kind of pointage. So, whatever. And I don't have their troops down there. So I'm going to discard these three, but I'm looking for something else to put in play. And what do I get? Yeah, I've got like the renewed French commitment, which allows me to play the Bon Chance. But the renewed French commitment can only be played early winter 1743 or later, which means if I throw this card, I may not see it real soon. Like, this is going to be a formal declaration on Britain and Austria. Bourbon forces may now enter and attack Austrian Netherlands spaces, which I guess means that I mark this, but not the Dutch one. But I think I can attack the Dutch units there. And gives me a whole bunch of troops. De Saxe gets improved. A bonus activation in the Italian theater, including early winter, which is when I'd be playing it at the earliest. So this I want to keep in play. But the question is, do I want to hold on to this for next year? Right? Because I won't be able to play this. Like, this gives a bonus on siege rolls and makes them cheaper. I think this is a card I discard just because I'm not going to be able to use it right away. I'm going to find one more to throw away then. Okay, now we got something really weird as we get to the British. This is the end. I got to get rid of, I think, 3 of theirs. British recall. When drawn, set aside from hand, does not count at British hand size. Must be immediately played when any non-allied strength points are within 2 spaces of London. This is kind of cool. Like, it's a card that doesn't count against me. I don't know what it does. It transfers all kind of stuff. Let's see, what does it say it does? It's an interrupt. Transfer all British leaders on map, 3 Dutch SPs, and at least 5 British SPs to London. These counters may not move out of England until all French and Scottish SPs are eliminated from England. It's a cool card. It's especially cool because it's not in my hand. I've got like this freebie extra bonus card. I think I have to announce that it's out and ready. I don't know. Of course, that might affect French choices. That stuff like play early season 1744 or later. I assume they mean early winter? That's not for a long time. So I've got a whole bunch of cards I'm willing to throw away. I think I'll keep the ones that are worth more points. This is a fleet sortie. That could be useful. So Allied reinforcements is 1745. I think I'll keep the fleet sortie here. I can't play this until 1745 for the event. So, and I should be able to, that should get me down to 11 cards. And I am fatigued as hell by all of this. So we'll go to the event card segment. We're not going to actually play any of them yet. Something kind of painful about being given cards you can't play during the current season. Like, and this is a regular thing, the early part of the game, 1741, I could have drawn cards that can't be played right away. If you discard them, you might not get them. So, like, the order you get those cards in is really important, and how important the cards are is the questionable thing. So, like, being able to make Charles the Emperor is a big deal. I've been holding that card throughout the game and haven't been able to use it, it's been penalizing me again and again. Whereas if I had discarded it early, um, I would have gotten it, not by now, but um, next turn I'd be getting it perhaps. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Uh, I don't know how many French cards are here. Less than 13. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So it's like there's a fair chance that you're going to be holding cards in your hand that you don't want to play for their points. You don't want to discard because they're too important, but you're not allowed to play them for the event. But if the deck falls in your hands better, it's more applicable. That may be making up for not having some of these events be just die roll type things. It's putting you in a position where, like, hey, you might get lucky and you might get this event when you need it, but you might get it at a stupid time and be very tempted to use it for points or as a discard or something like that. I don't know. All right, we're done for a while. I don't think I'm ever going to get to the point where I'm not doing 2 vids for a given year, just because every time I start looking at the game, I'm trying not to go into too much detail of the sequence of play or anything, or my lookups. But there's new cards coming in, and the new cards are fucking whacked. Down here, it's probably Tuesday by now, but only just barely. And I decided, hey, let's get something done, and I see them on the event card segment. Okay. So I start working through the Prussians, and the very first card I see, Treaty of Paris. Prussia and France are allied again, allows play of re-enter the fray. I don't even know what this means. Right? Like, somewhere or another, over here, there's a card that allowed France and Prussia to ally, and it has some meaning, but Jesus, what I'd have to do is dig up this other card to see what it means. Assuming it's in here. It may not be. Okay, Treaty of Prez-Law. France and Prussia are allied and may combine forces when both are belligerent. I guess that's what it means. Now, I don't think there was anything that prevented them from doing that in the rules either. I'm not positive of that. Let's look at the geopolitics section again. I think I remember this. So, this is the thing that I think discusses it. And it talks about, Prussia becomes a belligerent when surprise invasion, okay, but reverts to neutrality upon Treaty of Berlin. Treaty of Paris restores the alliance with France through Prussia. That's this. Though Prussia does not become a belligerent again until re-enter the fray is played. And there's no coordination restrictions amongst allies that are general. So there would have to be something spelled out about France and Prussia. Now maybe there's something somewhere, I vaguely remember something, but it's not mentioned here. I don't know where it would be mentioned, to be honest. I can't even think of where. And I'm just like, okay, again, that card seems to, I guess, imply that maybe French and Prussians can't stack together until that card is played, and then I guess this has the same effect. But it's just this whole, it's much, much worse than trying to puzzle together, say, the rules to Europa Universalis, which are an absolute mess, right? But at least there, you can try to find, places. You have everything in front of you. Like the event book has everything in it. Here, I'd have to dig up cards, which may or may not be available to me to look at at any given time. They may be face down in the deck or something. I guess I could reshuffle, but man, this is just crazy. You know what it feels like? It feels like this event was maybe a playtest note. And, somebody had written down, hey, we got to explain what this means or whatever somewhere. It just didn't make it into the rules. It didn't make it onto the card. It didn't make it anywhere. And, oh, boy. Yeah. All right, well, I got through. I read one card in working my way. You can see why this is taking me fucking forever. Why, because, A, the reading and the looking at it, but then it triggers me, and I have to discuss it. I have to discuss how fucking bad this is. How ridiculous. This game is just... It's like a really preliminary playtest copy in terms of the quality of the information that's available to you. I feel like the only way you can play this game is if you have the designer sitting there at the table answering your questions for you. Not like there was no understanding of what's needed. So I look at this card, Maneuvers and Training, and I expected this to be horrible here. Increase Prussia's army rating to 5. Now, I think there's something else that increases it to 5, but I don't know. Allows play of Triumph of the Will and Night March Battle. I think the Prussian... Geez, I want to see it. This is the map. That's not it. Huh. I thought I had the Frederick learns from his mistakes sitting in front of me. I know I looked at it. Anyway, I think that does it as well. But anyway, it's okay if two cards do the same thing. But also allows the play of Triumph of the Will and Night March Battle events, and then has a couple of other effects. So I actually have both of these in my hand. And now it doesn't allow it invariably. In both cases, they say play 1744 or later after Maneuver and Training event, which is this one. That's how you do it. Now, it's not that big a deal if I'm holding this and I don't have either of these and don't know that I can't play them until 1744 because I only get this in 1743, and if they're not in my hand, I can't play them until 1744 unless I have some kind of thing that gives me a card. What I am gonna, they allows me to draw a card, and I don't think there's anything in the game that does that. What I am going to play is increasing the army, put 20 Prussian infantry SP with any friendly forces. I'll just boost my army way up, I guess. That's going to put me over size, isn't it? 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24, 26, 27. It is, but I think it's going to push me far enough ahead that it's useful. Now, can I move that whole force? I've got 20 and 36, so yes. Most of the times when I hit an event card, I feel like I have one or two event cards that I want to play, and it's pretty easy to prioritize. I'm having a hard time with the Austrians here. Let's see what we got here. August and Elizabeth, which would move Russian influence 1 towards the pragmatics. I'm a long way away from Russia entering the war on either side, so given the amount that I have, I'm gonna ditch that one. That one's not one I want to do. I don't want to do the Maria Macht Krieg, which could be used to get me a pile of activations, which don't really work right now. I could do it, and I think there's the bonus activations that you can keep track of, and I guess those could go over on the event track. But again, there's not 7 spaces there, so it wouldn't really work there. Much more appealing is 10 Austrian infantry and 4 cav in the AU Springboks. I don't have to do this yet. Secret Saxon Alliance, this is an alliance break card. This might let me get the Saxons out, and I'm allowed to play this, as the red says I can. So I think this is what I'm going to go with, although I'm really tempted for Able Advisor. Stack any Austrian leader on top of any Austrian senior leader. If I had paid attention to my hand, I might have been able to arrange things better. But right now, I have Traun over here, and I have Brown over here, and he's in charge over here, Klondike Bar. So I can't really use this for anything valuable. It's kind of a pity. This is a matter of solo play definitely gets in the way here, but also the amount of information I have to hold in my hand, etc., or in my head, both regarding the game situation as I'm trying to set everything up and prepare and everything. I think that's the kind of card that once you've played the game a couple of times, assuming you haven't burned it after that or just decided, whatever, because I really don't think that anyone's going to play this again. Like, there are... All right. There are plenty of other good CDGs that are relatively solid and are good to play. There's Pragmatic War, which I'm assuming, I haven't gotten to it yet, I'm assuming is going to be in much better shape than this. And it's really hard to justify this. You'd really have to go out of your way. To the extent that I think, it would be impossible to bring it to a group of players unless you all dedicated yourself to becoming real fans of the game and devoting yourself to, developing the house rules and whatever, to whatever degree is necessary. It's an unfinished product significantly. So you're talking about a solo player who's willing to invest that much effort into trying to, gain the kind of experience maybe that Clash of Monarchs provided, which this probably could if it was polished, but it just isn't. Anyway, flip the SA Alliance to its diplomacy side. Okay, that has just thrown the Saxons out of alliance with Prussia. They're a minor part of the forces now, and I'm holding Dresden and Leipzig, so I don't know. And move it 2 spaces towards the Pragmatics. Sounds like a band. Roll a die, modified by SA influence value. SA influence is right now +1. On a 5 or more Austrian Saxon, you end up allied. But this is a special card that's handled in the rules. Treat Saxony as a neutral until one of the conditions listed in 7.83 applies. So I'm at +1. It's really unlikely. Well, it's not that unlikely. It's 50-50. Huh? Okay, so the Saxons are now, once again, allied, but this time with the Austrians. And this is confusing. Until 7.8.3. And it kind of makes sense. Hey, I've seized Saxony. If I was playing War and Peace, Saxony would have switched sides on this. I think their forces would be destroyed. But, 7.8.3. Of course, that game I feel like countries are too willing to switch sides when like they're conquered and they just become yours. It's just too easy. Although that, I think, is the general. Okay, if the Secret Saxon Alliance event is played, Prussia and France continue to treat Saxony as neutral territory until a Saxon SP enters a Prussian or Austrian space. See, here's what's problematic. There's Saxon SPs in a Prussian or Austrian space, one way or another, depending on how you word it. That's Austrian home territory, and there are Prussian units there. So I think I think the alliance is just clearly broken. An Austrian SP deliberately enters a Saxon space. They're already in Saxony. And Saxon SP is involved in any attack or defense against Prussia or France. If the Prussian revenge card is played, it has its own, and I think I have that over here. Did I throw it out? Is that the one card I threw out? That would be weird. Yeah, there it is. Revenge. Play summer 1745 or later if Saxony was or is allied to Austria. Yeah, so it wasn't going to be available. Not sure why the 1745 limit on it or whatever, but I think we have just gotten them into play. This is a diplomatic card. I don't think it's play once. Secret Saxon Alliance. No, I can pull off a Secret Saxon Alliance multiple times, apparently. Now I have to figure out what happens to those Saxon troops. You think they leave? Well, they'd better leave. But I'm not sure where they go and what they do. And they're carrying a warn marker with them that Prussia's been carrying. You know, the whole winter, we've been unable to recover from that because Prussia goes first, which means anybody else does attacks to them, they don't get a chance to rally. As a side trip, now I have to check that because I look over here and it says remove warn and DM markers. It doesn't say active player, but when I look over here, it actually says all warn and or demoralized forces belonging to the active power and its allies. Again, who are its allies? They mean not major power allies, okay? Whenever they say allies, they don't mean all allies. Terms. Wow. I thought I heard something weird, like just as I was laughing. I need to go check. Weird because it wasn't actually a loud sound, but my laughing had me convinced something weird sounded off, and I needed to go up and check to make sure. I don't know, nothing was breaking in the house, no one was breaking in, whatever. But anyway, yeah, like it sounded like something fell. But maybe not something too impressive, but I just had a weird feeling about it. There are a number of places where there's a shorthand being used over there in this relatively extensive sequence of play card that exists. Now, I don't mind if like the back of the rule book doesn't give me a lot of information on the sequence of play, but when you give me something that big and that complete looking, it does feel kind of shitty. You know, could it have been a smaller typeface? I don't know, maybe. Anyway, where are we? Yeah, so what I'm looking to try to find is if there's any generic rule about what? About what happens when somebody goes neutral. And I don't know where they are. I don't know where that would be. Saxony. Yeah, so there's like nothing about that, but I know, here we go. Saxon alliance breaking. If the secret alliance or Saxon doubts is played, Saxon influence from its alliance to its dip side. If either event leaves formerly allied forces occupying the same space, the owning player immediately redeploys the non-Saxon forces one space or more in the direction of that power's home areas to a space free of Saxon units. Okay, they didn't really go neutral. Somehow or another, It is the Prussians who have to leave. Now, I think they can keep their fortress, and they'll pull back to Glogau. Do I want to? Yeah, I want to hold this. And that means the Saxon army, I guess, is sitting here. It's not sieging, but that doesn't really make much difference. Like, there's no real value to siege. So that's how I'm going to take it, because I don't think they'd get the fortress. We got a rationalization of the leaving. Let's see. The larger force retreats because these events will most likely occur when the major power is operating in minor power territory rather than vice versa. Yeah, well, that's not the case. They're both operating in Austrian territory. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, to me, I think the Saxons would pack up and leave. And they could just go into Saxony. And as a matter of fact, we're just going to fucking do that because I just don't buy this. I just do not buy it. You got to be careful. Always leave your garrisons. Like, I almost picked that up. That would have lost this fortress, but of course the victory point for it would have been still allocated to the Prussians, whatever. Hey, that's the Austrian card. We got 2 cards done, and I'm getting pretty tired already. It's so funny. It's like, I understand when I play a campaign card that I'll get fatigued because I had to move around units, I had to fight battles and all that. Here, just figuring out what the fuck the events mean, you know, is just taking me so much damn effort that I am fatigued after playing 2 out of the 4 cards I have to play. On the French deck, we have another problem. I'm looking through. I find a one-time event, the Treaty of Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau? It's not listed here. Oh, it's under Spain because it has a yellow seal, and sometimes the yellow seals go here, sometimes they go here. Why? I don't know. Well, that changes things, but I also don't see it there. This is playable after Treaty of Worms or Spring 1744. I assume they mean after Spring of 1744, not just in Spring of 1744. But anyway, it's 1743 here. There's a comma. I don't... It's hard to interpret these kind of things. But anyway, I don't think I can play this. I don't think it matters because there's no French in Italy on the board because the rules are ambiguous about whether that shows up or not. I don't think I can play this. I don't think I've gotten the Treaty of Worms yet. I looked through my discards. They're not there, but that doesn't mean anything. And Treaty of Worms is not listed in here. So I don't know. But it is a 5-point card, so I didn't want to discard it. So what I'm going to play is Les Tox Lies, Dorno's Disgrace. Play 1743 or later. It's not very impressive. It's roll 2 dice, and I get a Russian influence off of it. I couldn't find anything else I wanted to do. So, okay. So I get a 6. That means Russian influence shifts down again. And... one more card to play, then we got the Fog of War, then I stop for a while at least. Consider the, I had problems with the George must lead. Again, they do it right with the Louis must lead. Louis XV must be placed with the largest French force in Germany or Austrian Netherlands and remain CIC for the rest of this year. His army loses 1 AP per activation, which is a little weird. Because if he's CIC, he determines how many APs it has, and must remain or move north of Saarbrücken, and may not move further than 3 spaces away from a blue French space. This could be really painful if the French have an army. Where's Saarbrücken? That's here. This could be really painful if the French had their biggest army, say, here. Which I think they do. No, I think the Army of Flanders is bigger now. Yeah, Noailles' army is bigger now. The French were unable to play the card that allows them to go into the Austrian Netherlands. They really want to, but it's not allowed right now, which means this huge army I built is kind of ineffectual. But I'm looking through. I've got a card that I might want to play for the Brits, but anyway. Since all the Fortunes of War, Fog of War, whatever aren't played, I'm going to play this. Atlantic Fleet Reinforcement. It gets me 2 extra strength points right now. That makes my fleet significantly bigger. I still don't have a good chance of intercepting, unfortunately. I can't play the cards that would help with that. All right. We reveal. And it is the treasure fleet. Okay. We know what happens. We've got to play fleet activities. Nobody's got any built up, which seems weird. But I guess I haven't played any ghost ship cards or haven't noticed any. Yeah. Hard to notice. I got one right here on the top here. You got to zoom right in. And you can see it pretty well. But there's so much busyness going on in the cards. That little ghost there, not easy to see. It looks like these little numbers and stuff. It just looks like, you know, some of the coloration there. The cards are way too busy. It's had a fleet sortie card, so the English roll on a 6. They get to really light up the French fleet. Oh, okay. Well, that means we're going to have naval combat. Haven't done that. We had naval interceptions. There's no naval combat roll. Okay, the index has failed me. I'm going to have to swap batteries pretty soon. So we flip through the things and try to figure out where would naval combat be. You'd think it would be under fleet sorties. It's got to be there. But it's not. Any number of fleetception and naval combat roll is made to determine the result. Modifiers may apply. I guess I just roll on the table. This is really weird. Like, there are games where I would completely accept this. GMT, they almost always give you an explanation of when you have to use a table and what you have to use. But each force section is larger than the enemy fleet. So the English have 10, 14. The French have 10. So I've got a +1 to the die roll. And I think that's it. Carteret resigns, Anson and Hawke have not happened yet. So maybe I don't light them up. Okay, a +1 gives me a 6. Active player loses 2 sections. I'm assuming that's the French because they're the ones being intercepted. So they lose 2 sections. And the French lose 5 reinforcing SPs off the treasure fleet, which means I guess they get 15 of their 20 coming in. Yeah, that sure looks like it. So the French will lose 2 sections off their fleet, and their naval situation looks worse now. And we get, I guess, 15 of these, and then I gotta find a 5 to make change there. And yes, you definitely want to do the treasure fleet, no matter what, I guess. Where's my counter? I'll put it here. We move this to the summer campaign, not the spring. And we plug this in and we go away for a while because we don't want to play no more. No more, no more, no more. Kind of funny. If I was awake during the day and not doing anything, I would probably have read the rules to something else and we'd be done with this. Because I really don't, like, I just don't see... I don't see this ever, hitting the gears right, because it's just such a mess. And I was willing to fight my way through Europa Universalis. Now that was, more than 20 years ago, right? On top of that, yeah, more like 25. On top of that, I knew that if I worked out the solution to the problems, I would have something that I would want to play again. And I don't have that situation anymore here. First of all, there are games like EU Pop, like Invasions, I'm trying to think, like Clash of Monarchs, that I would rather come back. Let's put that aside. I don't think I'm gonna do. I already played it a couple of times. That I want to play another time, right? Before I die. And it seems unlikely, but at least I want to. And then there's all the games that I haven't played, and on video or at all. So I'm in a very, very different situation now, where the struggle to deal with something like this just doesn't seem worth it. Now, it is funny that a couple of the things that I'm tempted to go back to are things that are real messes, like Invasions, or that I had trouble with, like EU Pop, that I really, really feel like, yeah, I could fix some things, I could make some things work better on it and whatever. So it's not just the fact that it's a broken game, it's the fact of the type of game it is and how broken it is. Right? The combination of the two is what is dooming it. It was not in that rich, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like the same kind of rich experience that I would expect for the amount of trouble that this would provide me at this point. It's kind of funny. I was listening to something about Catherine de Medici, and I'm like, oh, I have that the French Religious Wars game that I played. That was kind of problematic, and I had some issues with it. But I'm kind of tempted to play it again because I read the history. You know what this is making me want to play? This is making me want to play Pragmatic War. And it's making me want to play War and Peace. Not Empires and Arms, strangely enough. Sometimes I get really in the mood for that and have been putting it off. But I did read the rules for War and Peace a while back. Didn't play it, and kind of looked at it, the new edition, and kind of looked at it, and I'm like, it wasn't fixed. The core problems with the original game, which are nothing like what's going wrong here. The core of that game is playable. It's just like it didn't solve the Grand Campaign, which just doesn't work in it. Anyway, back here to do the summer, and I realize I fucked up. I don't know. I don't know if I did or not. I gave Prussia this huge fucking army. I had the Chastened and Weiser in my hand. I didn't realize I had it. I'm having real trouble seeing down here right now. I don't know why. But maybe I saw all that red text. You know what I saw? I think I saw the 1744 and just skipped it because of that. And just said, oh, I can't do that. Oh, well. We let things sit. So I'm looking for a card. I need to activate him. Recover from Warn. Because, again, that happened. Like, anything, it's weird. Anything that happens to the Prussians, if other powers take the offensive, the Prussians can be left, like, really in trouble. And in this case, they were left in trouble from a late winter through the spring into the summer with that Warn marker on them. I don't want that. I have to recover that. I'm trying to decide what I want to hit. It's a good question. Like, I could pick on something like Prague and try to take it. a success there is worth a victory point, actually, with five troops there. But it is a major fortress. I may not be able to do it. And I've got this huge army. I'd kind of like to beat Charles's army. That is no, that's not Charles. That's fucking Tron. Oh, shit. He's better than me. Yeah. I can't face him. The plan was to pick on the Saxons and then march up and try to take Brown's little force on. Unfortunately, the Saxons withdrew, so I went in, sieged them at Dresden. I got kind of lucky. I got the highest roll that I could. That gave me an honors of war, though, which is not the solution I wanted. I wanted to be able to capture them, to tell you the truth. But anyway, after taking that, I withdrew back to Gorlitz. I've got supply from like 3 different directions. I don't really want to fight Tron. I've got cards. He probably has cards. Whatever. I think I cheated. Not surprising. I had over 35 points, which is a -1 to the activation point allowance. I just found this. What I was looking for was, hey, what happens? I might admin march Charles up here, gather with Waldeck. What would that do? I don't know. So I'm trying to look at, hey, what happens if and this may be what the stacking together is really like the alliance between the French and Prussians is supposed to be, is some kind of they can activate together. When you do a force activation, players must declare exactly which leaders and SPs constitute a force. To activate a leader or command, you must put in CPs equal to the commanders. I think the restriction that I don't think there's any restriction. Like, I think Charles could end up moving with the Dutch, right? But Charles's force can only move once during this campaign season. There is a restriction on that, which would mean that I couldn't join this. I could pick them up and move them, but yeah. So I'm not sure what I want to do. Like, I'm planning on playing this 2-point card. I'm planning on using Traun because Traun is my god, you know? And I actually have really good battle cards. If I can bring Frederick to battle, I think I can, like, put the Prussians out of my misery. But there is a bit of a problem. Well, there's not a problem. I've got an extra point with which I can move an admin move or something of that nature. Or there are other things I can do with CPs that aren't listed here, right? CPs and force activation doesn't list it. It's here under campaign points and playing strategy cards. And it's like, things are kind of not organized all that well. I don't know what you can do. But remember, I can do CH raids for units of that power or any of its allies. And again, allies I think is dual. Let me see how force is defined. But I don't think it's limited to your allies, to your minor allies. Like, again, who knows, because the word allies is used multiple different ways. So force is defined in 3.1. And we have mixed force. It can contain SPs, units, and leaders, this is what I was looking for, of more than one power, but may incur penalties thereby. Yeah. Now, when they use power, that's different from allies, right? Its nationality is determined by the power with the most SPs. Yeah, it can be different player forces together as far as I know. I can't find anything that prevents that in general, which would, like, I have to kind of make up rules that aren't very clearly stated. Maybe they're there, maybe they're implied. But anyway, yeah. All right, so I'll activate Troun, and then I'll try to find someone else who wants to admin move or something. I don't know. It's really hard to figure out what the fuck to do because I've got this extra point. Well, I can do a raid. What does a CH raid involve? That's going to be Croats, and so that's going to be under C. Croats and Hussars, 12.1. I'm constantly having to look stuff up. There's just too many rules that are all in effect all the time. Like they all have influences in all the time. So it's not there are some games that have a really, really heavy rule set, and I might have to look something up at that time. Summer Storm was one of them. But I don't generally have to flip through the rule book again and again and again, tracing all the different things to try to figure out what I want to do with a single action or whatever. And in this case, it's the play of a single card. How do I raid? If it's placed on or moves into an unoccupied space or one only enemy depots, I can flip it to successful raid. It doesn't really do me a hell of a lot of good unless I can place it in a really valuable location, though. Oh well. All right. Well, we'll see. Okay, so we got it happening. I attacked Breslau, took it. I'm not leaving a garrison there. I'm going to use an admin movement or whatever. I can move up to 5 strength points places. I'm going to just shift a strength point maybe from here up to Breslau or something. Probably another one here to Nies, just to cover whatever I take. But I moved in here to Glogau to take that on. Frederick's intercepting. He's feeling pretty cocky because he's got that card that's gonna like repair the fact that he felt this cocky. This may be the end of the game in a sense because the Austrians are already up to 5 victory points total. Unfortunately, that's the event victory point. That's not right. So I moved that 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'm at 1, 2, 3. I'm at +2 total. That means I'm at even. Does that make sense? I don't know. I've lost a couple of points here. I don't know where the extra points come from, but they come from events. So, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So, on board, I should be 2 points back here. If I have 2 Austrian event points, what have I taken that is giving me 4 points? I've taken Berlin. There's my 2 points. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So that actually works really well. Instead, I could actually activate Brown and do something with him with the extra point here because I've got 2 1-point leaders crushing Prussia right now. Anyway, let's see what we can do. We're only at 2. I thought we were up at 4. Or 5 actually, was it? Yeah, 5. I thought I was at 5, which is putting me real close to the 9 that I need to win. If Austria gets 9, it's an automatic victory for the Pragmatics. And you don't worry about which one won. Whereas there are discriminations between the countries, like the individual players, if the game goes the whole way. Somehow or another, Britain and Austria, both, and Piedmont, all win equally well if the Austrians manage to do really, really well. I don't buy that. Like, I really think what it should be. I don't know what it... So for Austria, it would make sense. Hey, if Austria can get to +9, they're kicking ass. They're probably reorganizing, reordering how Europe is. Like Maria Theresa is going to be able to, in this case, claim to be empress or whatever, perhaps even. I don't know. But The other side of things is 26 points for the Bourbons, which is France and Spain and Prussia all added together. Yes, Prussia's counted as part of the Bourbon powers, and Bavaria for that matter. But the Bavarians share points with the French. But the Bourbon powers include Prussia. And so if I can get, that 20-something points with them combined, I get an automatic victory. And they all win, and that kind of makes sense. Although, again, there should be some kind of determination within the alliance. I don't know. If Austria gets 9, though, like, you look at the chart, it's going to be pretty hard for anyone to beat them. But if the Bourbon powers as a whole get some kind of big advantage, you'd still want to say, Prussia came out ahead out of all of this, or France came out ahead out of all of it, whatever. So it's time to do the battle, and it's going to be a big one. Traun is heavily outnumbered, but he's the better leader, and we have good cards. So he thinks he's going to win. This is such a big, important battle. I rolled the day of battle, got, is it 90 strength points or more? I don't think so. They're at like 30-something, and they're bigger. It's going to be maneuver, add a subordinate leader for both. Well, that's a big help for Frederick, because I have Schwerin and Old Dessau. I'm going to be forced to attack because Traun is better than me, but I'm a 4. Traun can add Barbiani or whatever there. That gets us even. Both are at 4. So now I think we pick our cards. I should have it open to the thing. Wrong about one thing. Prussia has a handful of battle cards, but can't use any of them. Because Charge of Babe Ruth Dragons is 1744. Later I'm in 43. Fuck that. Now, did I stop? If +3 Prussian Cav. Maneuvers and training. This is the thing I need to play to get those others. Night March would have been one of them. That would add 2. No, because I need to have the maneuvers and training. Army Ascendant. That's not a battle card. Black Eagle is not a battle card. Triumph of Will is one. 1744 after maneuvers and training. And I need the Cav. That would give me all kind of bonuses. I'm in trouble, because I know the Austrians have some nice cards. So right now we're looking at 0 on the table. But the Austrians are going to come in with some cards. Austrians have the very powerful counter move. Play if you have an Init 1 battle commander in the battle. Traun is Init 1. So, +2 to his battle roll, -2 to the Prussian battle roll. Still a bigger Prussian army. And anything else exciting here? Oh, Cav superiority. I have 12 Cav. The French only have 6. So now it's +3 -2. I get a 6. That's going to be 15%. -2 is going to be only 5%. I think the Prussians are going to lose this battle. And it might be big enough with that big 15%. I'll give you a report. There's 12 Cav here, but there's actually 7 here. So instead of a 6, that would be a 5, still 15%. It's not going to be 5 points of damage. It's 3 points of damage, which I've calculated out. I haven't calculated the Prussians yet. Lose, it was 3-2. And I have to retreat here. It's the nearest fortress. I could go inside. Let's send one in demoralized. Not that it matters much, but there's demoralized marker. Just to make sure that Traun would have to siege that if he wants to take it. Now, Traun could continue pushing against Frederick The problem is he used his big card. He knows he's facing a larger force. I'm not honestly sure that it's a good idea for me to launch. I wish I could find out what Brown succeeds in doing. I'm not sure that it's a good idea that I actually launch an attack against Frederick, trying to seal the deal, as it were. I'm at +1 and another +1. Maybe it's worth it. If I don't advance, if I siege, that might take me a while. So I think I'm going to keep pushing against Frederick. He was gung-ho about battle before. He's not anymore. He wants to withdraw now. So he's got a +2 on the withdrawal roll. I don't think there's any modifiers on this. So he's able to run away. He'll keep leaving little siege droplets behind. But let me check the withdrawal rolls, see if there's any restrictions on that. Again, you know, that's what I have to do. Read everything. So I got a success of 4 or more. CH guerrillas help you withdraw. That's something I gotta remember. The remaining force may immediately withdraw 1 space away, but not into the space from which the enemy commander advanced. Do I want to fall towards Glotz? I'm getting kind of pinned in if I fall to Glotz. So I'm going to fall to here, and I'll leave that there. Now that leaves, I didn't have to spend the attack point because he withdrew. That leaves Traun again with the option of pushing forward. This isn't worth shit. Oh, but we'd be moving out of command. No, we have supply there. Okay. Yeah, we'll keep going. And Freddy tries to withdraw again, which he, of course, succeeds at doing because he's good at this. I'm getting kind of cornered here. Dance up this way, my supply line could get cut. All right, into Dresden. I don't like this because Traun has enough points to move in. I'm too big to use any kind of French supplies or anything, even if I could. But I can fall back to here. All right, we'll try to withdraw again. Run, run, run. We succeed. Do we want to just give Dresden up? It's not worth shit, but it is a supply source. But Traun has a pretty good... Traun would just take Dresden otherwise. Like, it wouldn't be automatic. You'd have to spend an action, but... But now Traun can't keep chasing me. So... He'll undertake to siege that, I guess. And... We're Austrians. Do we suck? No, it's Prussians and Brits who suck. We get a 5, honors of war. The Prussians have to go to the nearest fortress. Sounds like it's Schneidelitz. Yeah. Yeah. Put him in with the cav. Okay. Which means this has fallen. I've used up one of my 2 commands. My other one I'm going to use for Brownie, I think. And we'll see what he's doing. He has a fair-sized force as well. Some point or another... Oh no, Brown's drawing supply from Leipzig now. But at some point or another, I'm pretty sure that the Austrians were out of supply. I just can't figure out when it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe the Saxons returned to Leipzig before Glogau fell or something. I'm just going to leave it as it is. This is not out of supply, I guess. So, now I'm up ahead in victory points after taking Magdeburg. And another Honors of War went on there. I'm thinking I want to leave some troops at Magdeburg. I'm thinking I can pick up some forces here at Leipzig and try to get up to Kustra and take that. I mean, if I can get to Königsberg. The Prussians are in a lot of hurt right now. Big enough force, I've got to take Rutkowski with me. I would have liked to have left him there. And now I have 4 more movement points. 1, 2, 3, and start a siege of Kustrin. I definitely don't want Freddy to interfere with me, so I got to stay away from him. I could pick this up, but then I lose the 2 victory points for it. I keep the 1 permanent point that I got for having occupied Berlin and burnt it. That's kind of the Russian thing. I think that happened in the 7 Years' War, where the Russians came in and burnt Berlin. It's like, yeah, that sucked. And it was just, such a shock. But yeah, I think I want to go for this. Put the threat in on Königsberg. That 3-point victory points there. That's too much to allow the Austrians. If I'm right, the Austrians are at +1 as it stands right now, which is that I'm down 1 here and up 3. I'm down 2. Yeah, and up 3. As I'm schlepping strength points back and forth and everything, and especially since Saxony doesn't have a force pool, but the major powers do, I'm a little worried that I might be getting these force pools out of alignment, like I might be removing pieces. I know I tried to do it with the Prussians, remove a piece and not put it in the force pool that died. We ended up with a siege +2 here, and them down to 1 strength point. We lost a couple of strength points of our own, one of them a Saxon. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're 1 strength point over our size in terms of needing Rutkowski. It's fine. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything in a minor fortress. It's only in a major fortress that a named leader helps. So, yeah, these minor fortresses, trying to defend them with large forces is not terribly helpful. That uses up both the activations points on my card, and we go to the rally segment where the Warn marker goes away. Again, it would make more sense if both sides rallied, but then you're not paying the price for losing a battle anywhere at any time. I don't know. Or maybe it would make more sense if you didn't have an auto rally. But again, you should rally in the winter. There should be a rally segment that just, I don't know. This should not be within the player turns. That much I know. But it does kind of suck, like you can get beaten up. So now Frederick's available. Someone else could go beat him around, right? Like the Brits could come and hit him or something. But that makes sense. It's all happening at the same time, sort of, kind of. So that means we go to the supply segment. Let's look at what our supply... We didn't end up using the admin move that we thought we were. We go to the supply segment. I think we're okay on supply. going throughout here. Up here, Magdeburg provides supply to both of these. Things are a little tenuous. If Berlin falls, I might be in trouble. That means I'm going to be on the French turn, and I'm going to put the dice up here because I have done enough that I'm fatigued again. It is really easy. I'm just having to do so much. Some of that is not, like a fair amount of that aspect of it has very little to do with where the game's, fucked up in terms of like it just wasn't, the design wasn't finished. That's a matter of clunking around, having to look up rules a lot. I don't think that would have been fixed. I feel like the rules would have been clunky and kind of painful anyway. The amount of information on the cards, the coloring of the cards, all that kind of stuff, and the amount of thinking that I have to do to operate. This feels like it's a step, like if this was good and clean and working well, it feels like it's a step or two worse, harder, whatever, than Clash of Monarchs was, from what my memory is of it. Certainly that is a clear indication that it is significantly, that there's a significant difference between the two in terms of the complexity. But I also feel like the way the cards are going and the amount of effort I have to put into figuring out the cards, and also there's an unfamiliarity aspect to this game in the way it uses certain mechanisms that I just feel like is adding an extra burden. Again, I would have much rather seen a Clash of Monarchs clone come out that covered Austrian succession. That was what I expected, When you see the designer of a game you love and the name of the game looks real similar, it's Clash of Sovereigns instead of Clash of Monarchs, this is what the No Peace Without Spain series got right. Yeah, they're not all exactly the same. There are differences because there's differences in the periods. But for the most part, it is the same system again and again and again. And, the graphics on the cards and whatnot is the same. I almost want to... Hold on. Let me swap batteries. I'm gonna take a peek at something. We're gonna take a look at the Clash of Monarch cards. One of the first things I looked at is, hey, let's look at the rulebook size. They're actually about the same. We're looking at 26 pages without optional rules here. We're looking at a little bit less here. And I thought, well, maybe the typeface is different. Nah, they're the same. So there's that. Now, the cards are what I really want to look at. We've got a more significant player aid here than what's presented in Clash of Sovereigns. A fold out with more of the data that I need on it. I think these are cards that I can use. A list of all the tactical cards that I could have available to me and who's allowed to use them. We've got actually two different types of battle in it. All kinds of stuff over here that goes into more detail on the actual combats. Recruiting that's handled by die rolls instead of sort of a fixed amount and then card throwaways. We do have the army size limits. Okay. A lot of this stuff, instead of being on cards, is being put on these, though. Playbook, I don't expect to have anything too exciting. Here's the random events stuff. The Fortunes of War are put in here instead. And then what's this? This is another copy of the player aid. How many copies of the player aid do I have? Is it just 2, or was there a third one in here? Yeah, there's. This is not. Okay, there's 3. 1 per player. There's significant errata. Here's the sequence of play printed out more completely. Compare that. We actually don't have something to compare it to. There isn't one of these. This is very helpful. Okay, we got another player aid. Okay, 1 per player, double page ones. It's got force pool information. It's got treasuries, so you're actually handling money in it. The map, I don't know if it's particularly clear or not. But the thing I really wanted to look at here was these cards. Let's pull a bunch of these out. Yeah, they still stay same format. I think there's more color in general, and there's more darkness to the Clash of Sovereigns ones. I don't know. The light's better up here too, which is helpful. So I don't know. I was just, wondering if the components are different enough, because I'm having such a problem with this with the current game, and don't remember. I remember Clash of Monarchs not being a trivial game to play. There's no question about that. Oh, another one. All right. So yeah, I'm not seeing. I mean, they're different games. They're very different games in a lot of ways. And I feel like more of the focus is on the play of the cards in this than it was in Clash of Monarchs. Like, there were other things going on, income rolls and stuff like that. I don't know. Definitely differences in, in terms of where the detail's been played out in this one versus that one. Didn't have this stupid checklist, I'll tell you that much. But, yeah, I actually find this map more appealing in terms of less confusing and busy. I think the Clash of Monarchs map, with its multiple different types of, like 3 different types of fortresses instead of 2 and stuff like that. This just, I don't know, seems cleaner. More of a traditional bubble map. But there's definitely other stuff that I'm finding that this is much, much more painful. I mean, I look at these cards. These don't look bad. Why am I having such trouble? Why am I having so much trouble reading them? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I would have just as much trouble hitting Clash of Monarchs for the first time. Or even not right now. Who knows? Yeah, Tuesday morning, had to bring the garbage down. And here we are back to play out the last couple cards. Now, this is going to be complicated because whatever France decides to do, I know that there's interrupts on, certainly Britain has one, and I think Austria does as well. So I have to be very, very careful. It's kind of weird in this game. Interrupts are sort of a minor expenditure of resources in a lot of ways. I mean, it depends on the value of the card. For whatever reason, the assault on Louisburg, over here, in the New World, is an interrupt card. Now, I don't know if it's an interrupt for the fleet sortie. That makes more sense. But you kind of feel like the int tag should be just on that instead. But that's going to, the way this is presented, that's going to allow the Brits to use this as a card kind of at any time, an extra card play more than they would normally get, which is kind of funky. I'm looking to try to find my interrupt that I want. I have the Louis Must Lead. That's the only one I have. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put that, and I'm going to check for the Austrians, and put theirs face up as well. I just wanted to call out that one card. I'm having this issue where I'm just like continually finding cards that I've got gripes about, not so much in terms of like some sort of, you know, oh, this doesn't really put me in the right place mentally for a CDG in terms of like, you know, being able to maybe access capabilities I shouldn't within the mechanism, whatever. What it does is the problem with them is that they have some kind of inconsistency or something that you're like, yeah, that doesn't seem quite right game-wise, is really the thing. Most of the complaints I have here have to do with either the poor presentation of the rules or cards, or some game impact that is just kind of weird. An example of the problems of card points. I need 1 point to move him, 2 more to move him. He's top priority. And I'm not sure the Louis Must Lead is going to get played here, but I have 1 3-point card and I don't want to play it. Which means we get rid of a few of these. And now I'm at a bunch of 5-point cards that are all, you know, big deals to play. Now, Prince of Conti cannot be played until Treaty of Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau is 1744. Spring of 1744, unless I get the Treaty of Worms. So I think I can get away with playing this. Some of these others, only after Russia becomes a Bourbon ally, that's pretty unlikely too. I think I'll play that instead. But now I have to think real hard, because I know I want to activate. Okay, now before I actually play a card, I have to resolve my depot situation. So I can place a depot within 2 of this. I could actually move it closer, but then it's going to be not big enough for this. And over here at Passau, what am I sitting with the army of Germany? This is a pretty big army too. Do I have enough points? Yeah, I actually have enough points I can move Nuales as well. Now I'm not allowed to go into here, but I could send that on its way. Now let me think at the same time about what he's going to do when something happens. Louis XV must be placed with the largest force in Germany or Austrian Netherlands. This is interesting because it's fucked up. What is Germany? What Austrian Netherlands, I know what it is. Germany is a couple of things. Right? So we have I'm calling them fronts in my head, where Germany and France are one front. It's these 2 colors. Given that it's and Austrian Netherlands, I kind of think that it's going to be the largest force all throughout Germany and in the Austrian Netherlands. So this wouldn't count. This wouldn't count. It's not the German, whatever the fuck this coloration differential is. Which, where is the map discussed? Various regions are marked by names within the spaces. Theaters. German theater comprising Germany and France, bordering blue and gray. Border theater, Austria and Prussia. I think this is a statement that does not include Bavaria as part of Germany. It does not include the Austrian Netherlands. I don't know how much of this it includes. It's one of those areas where the name is in between stuff. But I'll tell you one thing. It definitely includes de Saxe. So the English are going to play Louis must lead, where he must be placed with the largest force in Germany or Austrian Netherlands and remain CIC for the rest of the year. Now, see, now this is fucked up too, though, because CIC is not defined, right? But the closest things that are is senior leader, which is just the commander of a given stack, okay? But then the theater command requirements in each of the three theaters, the largest force for each power at the start of the year, must be commanded by a 2-star leader if available. Senior leader is just whoever's in command of the force. So when we're talking about CIC, this term, commander-in-chief, I'm assuming, which is not defined, and then if we go to the George, there's not even any wording. Like, I thought this was the good card because it told me something. Well, my assumption was we were talking the German theater. Where appointing George the commander of the German theater would mean that he would have to be in charge of the largest force there always. But there's no rules for anything like that if Louis is put in charge of de Saxe's force, which is how I'm reading this because of the inclusion of Austrian Netherlands. If it just had said in Germany, I would have assumed they meant German theater. But by including Austrian Netherlands, they're putting it down to this Germany. And this is, okay, wait, where we have the map, maybe there is no other Germany. Because very large groupings of areas, German theater comprising Germany and France, border theater comprising Austria and Prussia. So yeah, it's not this heavy titling here. Austria and Prussia both have their name in something. So I think Germany is some amorphous thing. I don't think it includes Bavaria, nor anything south of it, but I think maybe it includes everything up to the Austrian Netherlands. Of course, I'm not sure about the Dutch territories, which really shouldn't be part of Germany at all, whereas maybe Bavaria should. Again, not defined. Anyway, trying to play this by the way it reads, I think I can force Louis to have to take command of de Saxe's force. When it's activated. And that's probably the first thing I'm going to do, and then react with what I do after that. What that means is that de Saxe was activated with a 1-point card, but because of the way this works, his army loses 1 AP per activation. Okay, well, he has a 5 and must remain and move north of Sauerbraten and may not move further than 3 spaces away from the blue French space. Well, now I have to fall back, I guess. I don't know. I could probably stay where I am. Is he the largest army in Germany? That's a good question. 10, 11, 12, 13. Yes. That's the German army. The Flanders army, if it moves in, will cause problems, and I don't know. You know what? Fuck it. No. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. I'm going to read it the way I read it before, which is that this forces him to be commander-in-chief of the German theater. Fuck the Austrian Netherlands, pretend they're not on there at all. Because there's nothing that makes any sense out of whatever this card says otherwise. What I'm thinking here is trying to project why the mistake happened. But this is what got me in trouble with the seals. The why the mistake happened is because someone wrote in Germany, meaning in the German theater. This is what you get for using the same name for two things, right? Call it the Western theater. They call this not Austria. And they wanted to make sure that it was clear that the Austrian Netherlands could be hit. And maybe a question was written about, hey, how come it says in Germany, can I be in the Austrian Netherlands too? And the decision making of why the card was written the way it was originally and why theater was left out or whatever might have been changed. I'm just going with something like that. And I feel like I have to do that with so much in this game. What it means is the very effective de Saxe is going to march up and fight a larger force under Cumberland. Well, at least larger in terms of number of counters. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I can't read all these. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I need... Okay, I have a sub-commander. What I don't have is Waldeck, but I needed to move him back to command those other troops to bring them into play. I don't think it makes sense to play Louis Must Lead. It may not make any sense at all because the largest force is this one. And Louis being in charge of that doesn't really help me particularly. He has a 5 activation rating. Of course, it goes down to a 4 because whatevers. And because it's being used as an interrupt, I think no matter what, because that's the way it's worded. No. So this doesn't give all the information about using this as an interrupt that the George one does. The George one gives all kind of neat information about using it as an interrupt. I want to hold off on that. I'm not going to play it. So we'll let the French do what they want to. Anyway, we got a battle at Hanover before I go on. I get to pay 1 to do that. Some interesting things. There were no battle cards. The Brits couldn't play one against an initiative 1 leader like the very brilliant de Saxe. The battle card is an infantry slaughter. Add +2 DRM to the side with the higher army rating. Well, I think to myself, okay, whatever. Brits have a 5, and this is where I realize things are ugly. French have a 3. Okay, so first of all, the Brits are going to get a +2 battle rating from this, but also +2 to the die roll. But also, they're looking at a better battle rating, so their net battle rating advantage is +2. That makes up for how shitty Cumberland is compared to de Saxe. So we're at a base of 0, but the Brits are going to be a +2 to the French at 0. Oh, this is not going to go well. So that's 5% of the French and 15% of the British strength. The French are obviously going to be demoralized and are going to be pushed back. It's still not going to be... I don't think it's going to be 5 strength points, but we're right at that 30, right? 30 times 15% is not quite, because I think things shift on a 1.6. Now, you know, some games have some games don't tell you about rounding. Okay, that sucks, but you know, you make your assumptions, round on 0.5 or higher or whatever. Some games have a standard rounding rule. This game has a weird rounding rule, and it's non-standard. There are some cases where that 1.6 does not apply. I think the important thing, though, is if it's exactly 1.5, no matter what, it's going to round down. No, not always. Yeah, I think losses are one of the things, though, that is affected by the 1.6. So let's see, we got major battles. That's what we're talking about here. But not a major victory. So casualties. I don't think I rolled leader losses in the last battle. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't tell me about it here. The result is percentage loss. He then multiplies his percentages. Force is determined. Yeah. For fractional SP are rounded up if 0.6 or higher and down if 0.5 or lower. I think what they mean by that is they're rounded down 0.5 or lower and up otherwise. Just to prevent you from getting that, if I have 30 strength points and I get a 1.5, a 15% of 0.15, that's going to be 3 strength points plus 1.5 is 4.5. That rounds down to 4 and doesn't get me to that major battle 5. Making sure, or major victory 5, making sure that I don't get major victories unless I get a hell of a good roll or I have a bigger army than 30 strength points, which are hard to cope with. Because remember, they get a movement penalty and everything. Which means we're only going to do 4 to them. The Sax is unhappy at this point. He's had the shit kicked out of him. He's demoralized, of course. The British force is worn, which means with a leader like de Sax, I could recover and go back in. But the odds are getting so crappy with the numbers that I've got that what I'm going to do instead is I spend 2 to undemoralize him. I definitely want to do that. And then I think I'm going to march on Magdeburg and try to take that. I have 4 more activations. That's my 2 other big armies. I think we're going to try to move Nuales up to deal. We have to take Hanover to get things moving in terms of getting the Emperor in place. But I have this force to deal with too, this big German force. And that, German-Bavarian force, that I can paw through and try to see what I want to fight. This is a relatively large force. Taking Vienna would be a meaty amount of points, but it doesn't do much to the Austrians. It doesn't force them out of the war or anything like that. That's the problem, and that's why I'm having a hard time making decisions here. There's no singular goal that I see as really, really helping me. And although an attack on Prague is very appealing in a lot of ways, I'd be running away from my supply line. Now, I'm going to have to cheat here. If I was going to do that, what I would do is run its initial supply segments separately. It's just so hard. Like, these guys don't need a supply segment, but these guys would have needed one. I'm not going to do that, though, here, because I don't want to lay another depot down, and I don't want to have to start throwing lots of cards away for depots. Right now, I still have a little stockpile left, right? A march on Vienna will get me... This is almost like playing a star game, right? Not only the bubble map with jump routes and everything, but like their key locations. It feels, to me, it's feeling like Fifth Frontier War in some ways. The way I'm moving, it's not feeling like a land game. But the fact that I have to, like, do essentially island hopping from fortress to fortress, would I have to? No, but the cost of my depots is so high that, that I don't really want to burn another one. I already burnt one trying to get Hanover. These two leaders have the same initiative. Take a look at the battle order. Expend an AP to attack. I did that. Tally the SP. Yeah. That I don't need to do that until the end. Determine army battle ratings. I can do that. The French are at -1 relative. Optional rule, draw a battle card. Tell me when I play cards. Yeah, way down here. Okay, cool. What it doesn't tell me here is the decision to be attacker or defender. Well, I don't know who gets to choose, though. That was the issue. Clearly, the advantage goes to the defender. That would be my general goal, is to be the defender. But this card is going to give the give the attacker a -2 to their damage roll, which is huge. But who gets to be the attacker? And we're forgetting that. Okay, each side's commander adds his respective offensive and defensive. Yeah, thanks. I'm looking for the one little rule that tells it's this blue rule. The activated force that moved. See, now this is a repair. This is an addition to the new version of the rules, and it's problematic. Like, your usual feeling is the attacker is the guy who moves in. But this changes that. If the activated force moved and was intercepted, the moving force was not originally, and thus did not have. No, this is not it. Okay, I thought this was it. Well, where the fuck is it then? Each side's commander adds their bonus. Yeah, thanks. Here it is. It's in the activation. Yeah. So this is where the problem starts. This is not new. I thought it was down here. One of the forces must attack. Leaderless forces can only defend. The player with the best initiative has first choice. If that player declines to attack, his opponent must. If they have equal, the activated commander has first choice to attack. So yeah, so the activated player, because he's moving, wins the initiative ties. This is important because now the French are on the defensive now, and it kind of, some of it makes sense because you're bringing the enemy to battle, but some of it doesn't. You're bringing the enemy to battle by, like, maybe maneuvering around and getting into a position where he has to attack you. But the other argument is, look, he's just there garrisoning stuff. By default, he should be the defender, right? So, I don't know. It's just such a weird rule. And I think this is from Clash of Monarchs, by the way. All right, so the French will get the advantage there, which means that our net battle rating is going to be -1 for battle quality, +1 for leadership quality. Nets out as a 0. The Austrians are going to be at -2 because somehow or another they're the ones attacking. I've already paid the attack cost here. So they're going to be a 4 at 10%. We're going to be a 4 at 10%. I don't know how many forces each side has. And this is going to be a pain in the ass to count because it's this big old stack. And I'm out of army boxes. Yes, I could have used the Italian army for that, I guess. Actually, looking through, the Franco-Bavarian army has a bonus for better cav. They're going to be doing 15%, so they will actually win this battle. So doing 4 points of damage, that forced a cav loss there. And now the French are going to have to siege Vienna. I left a decent amount of forces behind. That's kind of risky, but I don't want it to fall quickly, because if it fell quickly, I could actually do it with 2. If it falls quickly, he could hit this again. Ideally, he would like to rally, but it'll take that -1, right? Although there isn't really the advantage came out of the card more than anything else. Although I do have the cav advantage. So now I'm sieging. Now I'm French. I'm at +1 without a marker. The besieging force is warned but not demoralized. So I get a 5. That's an honors of war. These guys go up here. Vienna falls. And that means France gets 3 event points for having taken Vienna. So now the points for Vienna and Berlin are used up. There is at least one other, isn't there? I think Piedmont is also Turin or whatever. And Paris. There might be another one. But yeah, there's locations that have a one-time advantage. Vienna's a big deal at 3. What was the other 3? It's got to be Paris. Yeah. But in addition to that 3, I get 5 points on the balance of points. And then I didn't spend. That cost me 1. I still have 2 action points left. I probably, I don't really need to rally because I get a free rally at the end. I'm not there yet, but I get a free rally when I hit there. I do have 2 action points left. I can push another attack in. Just 1, but let's take a look at victory because we just made a lot. So the Bourbon total is 23 or more with a crowned emperor, 26 otherwise. We're not there, but let's see where we are. France is at 15. Spain adds another 3. That puts me to 18. Prussia unfortunately subtracts 1 off of us. But we're getting within range of that, and the Austrians are no longer anywhere near range. Their total victory points are at -4. Losing Vienna is a big deal, right? Austrians managed to fall back to Brunn. I don't know if I want to be here particularly. I spent an action point to move in there. I didn't have to spend one for battle. I got another action point. I could fall back to Vienna. Or sit where I am. I feel like it's more flexible if I fall back on Vienna. So let's just do that. And then we make change again. We had to make change to get that garrison, and now we have to take it off. Okay, so that got us to 3 of our 5 points. The other 2, I'm actually, I think, going to activate Spaniards with it. You know, this would be nice and everything. I really fucking need Hanover. I don't know. I really need Hanover. But the Spaniards might be able to light up Piedmont. That's the army of Italy. It's much, much smaller than I am. What the fuck does Emmanuel have? Oh, no. I'm sorry. It's the other army of Italy, which is much bigger. Yeah, I'm gonna move Nawales. Now, the Brits could play their interrupt card here, but I don't think it's terribly valuable at this point. They'd rather do it when they can get a better surprise in play. So he's going to have 6 commands, and with the amount of points that I'm gaining, now Luxembourg's part of the Netherlands. Can't enter. I guess. I mean, it's Austrian, so it like there's no unlike what the hell is it? The Silesian spaces. These are not marked, but they're all white. I guess that's the Austrian Netherlands. I have no idea what Germany is. Right? This was part of my other problem. Like, is Germany just the gray stuff? Does it include this stuff here? Shouldn't it include things like Bavaria and Hanover? But if I treat it as German theater, concepts like commander-in-chief start making sense. They're not spelled out here, but they start making sense. Like, largest force makes more sense. It aligns with other rules. Sure, there's a largest force in Germany, but does Germany include Bavaria in that case? I don't know. But if it's German theater, and ignore the Austrian Netherlands stuff because that's part of the German theater, then everything kind of works. Yeah, I'm going to move Nuales. Do I want to leave a garrison behind? Probably. So I've shifted all the way up to there. Couldn't quite attack. Don't have quite enough AP to attack. That's the French card. And now the French hit their rally segment, and I get rid of these warn markers that... Oh, he was demoralized, that's why. Get rid of the warn marker, and I check my final supplies, and I think everybody's in supply. I've got a depot here to supply this. Also supplies that siege. This is kind of nice because it fills in and helps protect his supply line. I don't know. But this is now over in the Austrian front, or whatever it is. It's not Austria. I don't know where the fronts are listed. Theaters. German theater, border theater. This is the border theater. So, yeah. And Poland is not part of the theater. I don't know if you're allowed to attack Poland or anything. Yeah. So if I'm all in supply then, including these, yeah, sure. That means that we rewind, we go to the Brits. I don't have enough energy to do another card at this point. That card was just too extreme. Yes, the Brits are going to have an easy card, but then I have to do the event card segment and the Fortunes of War. And my battery's dying. England looks at their cards. It's like 4:30 now. I took a nap. I read for a while, fell asleep because it's daylight out. I can't stay awake in daylight unless I'm doing something, and reading is not enough. I could just do what I do at night, but somehow I feel like, I don't know. Anyway, England has a whole bunch of interesting cards. Most of them are good events. I don't really want to do anything up here. And I can deal with this. This is the Army of Flanders, which I think is the big one, right? 23 versus 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Ooh. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Uh-oh. I don't know what happens if there's two armies. But that's the army of Germany. That's not actually in the German theater. Okay, good, 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 good. Which means, and the auxiliary is tiny, which is over here. Also not in Germany anymore. And since I'm reading it as Theater of Germany, that's fine. So I can play Louis Must Command. He's not allowed to move except to be, like the way it's worded, I'm not sure he's allowed to move at all. Because it says, and may not move further than 3 spaces away from a blue French space. I assume he can try to get closer to them, but he sure the hell isn't willing to go into Hanover once he takes command. He'll come in and be like, whoa, 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 not so deep in Germany. No, no, no. Even though the entire politics is based on taking Hanover, and this is the force that must do it, because everybody else has moved out. I don't know what would happen if I moved this back. I could probably try to shuttle him, but let's say there were 2 forces that were equal size. I don't know who gets to choose which force he's in charge of. I assume the French would, which would spoil the English plan. So if I wanted to spend points, I basically am limited to, of interest, moving Waldeck towards here, which would be a protective measure, but if I'm going to play the Louis card, fuck that, right? Or moving Emmanuel, who I don't think can take command of the Austrian force. So I could move him to join the Austrians, but I don't feel like that's all that important. And I'm thinking the Austrians can probably hold Gage behind, which means it's time to look for an event. Basically have 3. I think I could make Carteret resign. Maybe not yet. I have other events in here that are great. I can't play them yet. So, and this is what's kind of weird, is like, okay, I got 3 events that I can play this year. If I play an event right now, that kind of sucks. I don't know if I can discard for troops or something at this point. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Can't remember what I can do, because it's a whole list of things. Army fleet system. See, this is not what I can do right now. This is everything that I can do with those cards. So, like, if I want to, like, saved resources recruiting is a specific moment, right? That's up somewhere. I don't know where the fuck it is. That's right here in the early winter campaign. That's the only time that I can actually throw cards away. But on the other hand, I kind of don't want Waldeck. Like, I could spend an activation to, recuperate. That doesn't help me unless I'm going to fight, and I don't want to fight. I'm outnumbered. So, I just don't fucking know. I don't have many events I want to play. Now, I will probably want to play in the next campaign, but I will have this thing. I will have an event card here. That's 2 of my 3 cards. 3rd card goes here. Well, I get an event card here as well. And what the fuck, you know? When can I build the fleet sections? Once per year. So I just don't fucking know. Yeah, it's kind of funny. They talk about discarding. And again, may discard 1 per year to build these. And then here, you must discard cards. It's not absolutely clear that you can't discard cards from your hand during the draw and discard phase in order to have effects, because they use the same term. Because when can the fleets be done? Okay, they spell it out. Either as the event during the end event phase or as one additional discard during the French and British during saved resource recruiting. Okay. Which means there's no reason for me to do it now. I might as well hold on to it. Which, I don't know. So I can fiddle with the Russians. I can fiddle with the Russians harder with this cheaper card, or I could build a med fleet. I think I'll just grab the med fleet. I'm not happy about this because I feel like I don't have enough cards, but like even if I play an action next time, I'm still gonna end up with excess cards, but I can always burn them. Okay, so I will get 2 sections to my med fleet. Well, I'm out of counters now. There's no counter mix limit listed, but I would say I probably can't keep building. Med fleet is not listed on there. Royal Navy Rising is. And so that is essentially the end of the British turn. Getting rid of this worn marker. Which means we go to the event card segment and we start over and we look through everybody's event card. It's lost a couple of battles. It's time for Chastened and Wiser because I can do it or after Frederick loses his second battle. I would have done this earlier except for the 1744. I have a real hard time coping with this red text. And again, you know, the cards are busy, whatever. I'm just going to have this issue. So we get a new Freddy counter, which is significantly better. He'll still be demoralized, though. But he's now a 1 initiative leader with 3-point combat actions. That's sweet. And I got to write this down, and then it goes back in the deck, because that's the way the game works. They'll play August and Elizabeth, which will give me a point of Russian diplomacy automatically, which is pretty good. So many of them have a die roll, and that is not a play once card. The French have nothing better to do, so I'm gonna, I could have done Le Bourset's Mountain Coup, but I'm not really going through the Alpines. I'm ignoring Italy. So it allows the French to start the 45 events. Place the marker on the 0 track. I have no idea how this works. When the Treaty of Worms is played by the British or when Indulging the Pretender is played, the French player hereafter advances it each time that he plays a 3 CP for the CPs and the CP is still used, a 3 or more, for normal activities or discards any card. There's no limit to the number of times it can be advanced. So, yeah, we're going to just get events. I have to remember this. Now, this does not say 1 time only, but it pretty clearly is. But I don't have to write it. I mean, it's pretty clear because it's on the board. And there's nothing, you know, that part of it I can't do again. So on to the Brits, whom we just looked at. And I think I'll be doing a diplomacy action. I'll do the Russian Defensive Alliance. Assuming I haven't done it already. I don't have it written down, so I have to write that down, but on a 1 through 4, Russia moves a space towards us. And they do. I mean, it is a long way to go. And now I have to write that down. And now we're done. We have to get to the fog of war, but not yet. After handling those mechanical effects, let's take a look. We've got Fortunes of Power, which means the last one will be the attrition. Fortunes of War, table 1743. Flurry dies. Okay, we already had the Naples earthquake. All right. Charles of Bavaria is nearly dead. I don't know what happens if he never claims the throne, because, like, then I think that regaining the crown can't happen. And it's actually, like, something that is useful. It's the only way to get Francis crowned, and you can't do it if Charles isn't crowned, and I don't know what happens. I just don't know. Okay, Fleury's dead. Awesome. And that puts us to the end phase, where we advance the season, move CH is not stacked, move guerrillas. Great. This one's going up. Yeah, it's actually a really interesting question. What the hell happens if I can't regain the crown? Like, regaining the crown, 6.8. Let's look at the rules. There are several events that simulate Habsburg efforts to reclaim the title of HRE after the French Bavarians had claimed their title. Okay. When Charles has been crowned, the marker is immediately placed at the top space. Each time the Austrian player plays a regaining the crown, it's moved down. If the French player does not play F10, Diplomatic Triumph, by the end of spring 1744, the Austrian immediately goes on the 4-box for free and gets all listed. Okay, so that's the thing. Now, the French player wants to play that card. Play if French Bavarians control Munich, Passau, and Frankfurt. French have 5 or more victory points, and either Bourbon alliance controls Hanover, or British Protocol of Neustadt has been played. Neustadt was not played, and the Brits are choosing not to. They're engaging in the war here, so they're blocking the French heavily. So Hanover has to fall, and we're having trouble getting our grip on it. So we have to pay attention to this. When is this going to happen again? If the French do not play it by the spring 1744 campaign. I'm going to look for the regaining the crown marker. That ain't it. I wonder where it is. There it is. And I'm going to put it in, we're in 1744 right now. So I'm going to put it here because, and it doesn't say when, I assume it's the end. Yeah, end of it. Okay. So I'm going to put that here. If that does not come into play by the end of next year, and I don't think it will, because I think Louis is going to come in and say, no, your diplomacy sucks. Let's defend France. Which is not unreasonable, to tell you the truth. The Austro-Dutch could just invade France very easily. And, the English probably should have moved Waldeck down, but they can do that later. All right. So that actually gets us to load up, what, 1743A. Yeah. All right.